at this point.
Good morning. I'm Scott Renshaw, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees here at South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society. My pronouns are he, him, and his. Come, whoever you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter your gender, whom you love, how you speak, or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. You are welcome here whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears in your eyes. You are welcome here. No matter what you have experienced in the past, no matter what awaits you in the future, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God all of the time, or some of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. This is a community of open minds, loving hearts, and willing hands. You are welcome here at South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society.
Thank you, Scott. Our call to worship this morning comes from the trees and the bees and the exquisite joy of a world slowly waking to summer. It comes from lush garden soil moving aside to let fresh green shoots see the sun, and ducks with their ducklings parting the water in sharp, buoyant ripples. Our call to worship this morning comes equally from the somberness of entering the week that marks the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre that took place between May 31st and June 1st of 1921, when mobs of white residents, many of them deputized and given weapons by city officials, attacked Black residents and businesses of the Greenwood District in Tulsa, Oklahoma. From the knowledge that while the work is begun, there is much left to do in our quest to right wrongs, bring accountability, and create systemic change. Work we perform together with hands that sometimes seem far too small. And our call to worship this morning comes from you and from me and from the stories that surround us, both shared and disparate. So again, I say, let us worship. Our gathering hymn this month is For All That Is Our Life. Our Zoom runner will share their screen and the lyrics will be displayed. Everyone will be muted, but we hope you will sing along in your home.
Hello, everyone. I am so excited for today's time for all ages. Please excuse me as I get my slides queued up. So today I'm talking about something I get very excited about when I talk about it. So just bear with me. So this is about zines, which I'm going to explain. It's according to me, Rebecca, and I'm speaking from experience and almost no research, just because I got too excited to slow down for that. So if you've talked to me for more than about half an hour at a time, there's a strong chance I've just dropped in. Do you know what zines are? And I'm usually really bad at explaining it. So I'm going to try to do a little better this time. So what are they? Extremely cool. Super indie. Possibly a relic, possibly not used anymore. And it's a lot of cutting and pasting things together. So zines are the smallest possible way to distribute a story. People who are sometimes call themselves zinesters, they sit on their floor, figure out what they want to say to the world, and paste the text of that story onto paper, often with really cool backgrounds, assemble it into a small booklet. So someone might write a zine about goats and they find photos of goats and they write little piece of paper about goats or print it out and assemble it together. And you make copies and you can basically make these small booklets. Copies are a big part of it. And then you glue it together and you send it to the universe. And by the universe, I mean very few people. You advertise it on a website, typically about zines or maybe Etsy. Most likely you'll exchange addresses with another zinester and trade copies and send in the mail. So zines are intentionally small. It's intentionally produced for very small audiences. Yes, you could use a blog and get it out there faster. You can use TikTok and get your story out faster. You can go to a publisher and try to get your books published and reach a bigger audience, but people who make zines aren't after those things. No one, and I mean no one, makes money on zines. You lose money with every single copy. No one wins any prizes. The point is taking what matters to you and creating something completely your own. No preset blog designs, no hashtag, no editors saying that's not super interesting. If you think it's interesting, it goes in your zine. Zines are inherently tied to the LGBTQ community. Earlier on, when things were a little tougher, and even now when things are tough, it provides an unmonitored, safe way for queer people to connect. It's also the origin of fan fiction, specifically queer fan fiction, where someone takes an existing story and writes a new one. So for example, this is a classic zine from, I believe, the 70s or the 80s that have Spock and Captain Kirk in a romantic relationship, which at the time you couldn't do anywhere else. They're also about the music scene, particularly alternative scenes like riot girl or punk music. But most important to me is the per zine. This right here is my favorite zine of all time. It's an issue of Doris. I believe it's 26, but I think it's right. Yep, it's 26. It's my favorite zine. And a per zine is when you take your personal life, what's going on with you, and you put it into a story with the zine. So this one, Doris, is about a person moving, and it's great. It's very interesting. And you get to write that story and send it far, far away from yourself. As you may have already guessed, I have a very personal relationship with zines. This is me when I was 17, which is when I started doing zines. Look how different I look. And it's really great for someone who needs an outlet. I learned about zines in a book I read in junior high, and I just fell in love with the idea of taking your story and sending it far, far away. Like a lot of kids who had bad things happening at home, I was told, you can't tell anyone about this. This is our business. Don't go telling your friends. It's family business. And that is really isolating. I knew that the stress and fear and anger I was experiencing, I thought it couldn't go anywhere in real life. And so during a really stressful time, I made a zine about it, I put a stamp on it, and I mailed it off into the world. I wrote my first zine in the summer after my junior year. I missed a lot of school, largely related to the anger, fear, and frustration I was feeling at home and what was happening. I missed a huge amount of school, and I had to be in this special class that was just for kids who had to do a ton of schoolwork to catch up, which I did not do. Instead, I created my first zine, and it was a lot about the TV show Veronica Mars. I sat in this classroom where I was supposed to be able to pass junior year, and instead I took pieces of magazines I'd bought in a garage sale and told the world how important I thought the relationship between Veronica Mars and Logan Eccles was. It was way more educational than actually doing my schoolwork. I just loved it. It was so great. I'm getting excited remembering it. My senior year of high school was really isolating. Not only was the bad things happening at home, all my friends were a year older than me and they had graduated, but that was okay because with zines, I made friends everywhere. I had a pen pal in Pakistan. I had a girl in Baltimore who I exchanged mixed CDs with. And there was a woman who zine was the first place I'd seen a healthy queer relationship between women. And I would ask her nervous questions about what it was like to date a girl via letters back and forth. Even though the stress, anger, and fear was happening at home was the reason I made a zine, I never wrote about it. I never wrote about what was happening at home because it felt too scary. And even now I'm referring to it very generally because it still feels too scary to talk about. But the zines, but the zines really mattered because even though I wasn't ready to tell that story, I was telling other stories. I was talking about my first girlfriend. I was talking about how lonely I was, how excited I was to go to college soon. And even though I wasn't talking about the main thing, I felt so much less alone by having this relationship with people far away and having the chance to tell my story, even the silly ones about how important Veronica Mars was to me. You might notice that I don't have photos of my zines. I don't have a lot of things from my childhood. And so I don't have copies of my zines. And even though I traded it with hundreds of people, and it's actually in some physical libraries in Canada and England, there's no record on the internet of it. And that's kind of sad because it was really important and meaningful, but it's also kind of beautiful because when you tell the story, it's out there and it can be gone really quickly. What matters isn't having a record, but the fact that it happened and it was really important. And that's it. Thank you. And now you'll have to give me a second because I'm switching to the different script. Thank you for your patience. One sec. Okay. So this community, our church, and its many ministries are only made possible by the gifts you give of your time, your talent, and your treasure. Many of you pledge monthly, and for this we are grateful. Your gifts help to ensure that we are able to live our values of love and justice in the world outside. We use Breeze to collect Sunday offerings online, and the link is in the chat box now. Part of our ministry at South Valley includes sharing our Sunday worship offerings with a charitable organization that aligns with our principles and values. Your gift today will support the work of South Valley. Encircle was started in 2016 to help LGBTQ plus youth survive homophobia in predominantly Mormon communities of Utah and help Mormons become more accepting of LGBTQ plus people. Encircle has locations in Provo, Salt Lake City, and St. George, and soon Heber and provides support and counseling to over 900 youth people each month. As a decidedly LGBTQ plus affirming congregation, we wholeheartedly support the work of Encircle. Please give generously.
Please join us now in saying our offertory words. You will remain muted, but we will say them together. We are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together, we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with our gifts. Today's offertory music is There Is More Love Somewhere, sung by Jess Hudeman.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
For all that we have received and all we have found the courage to give, may we be truly thankful. May these gifts be a blessing to South Valley and to Encircle. At this time, all are invited to share personal joys and sorrows with our community using our chat box. Now, let's take a moment to center and to bring our awareness to the here and now. As you are willing and able, place your feet flat on the floor, your hands resting relaxed in your lap, and close your eyes. Breathe in to the count of 4 and out to the count of 4 as we take a few moments in silent meditation. welcome back to our community and to our awareness and our collective experiences, worship, and life. I was in 8th grade when I first learned the concept of the unreliable narrator. As a literary concept, the unreliable narrator is a character whose first-person telling of the story is not completely accurate or credible due to any number of things: mental state, age, and sometimes just untrustworthiness. As a child, this concept was life-changing for me. The idea that the person whose story I was reading could be misleading me, could be purposely lying, or maybe even worse, just wrong, not understanding that they were actually seeing, not perceptive enough to know what was truly happening, or perhaps kept in the dark and gaslit by the people around them. And when I realized that people in real life could be unreliable narrators, it was as if my young teen brain had suddenly opened up to 1,000 new possibilities, both horrid and wondrous. What I know now, of course, is that every single one of us is an unreliable narrator. We shape what people see of us, what they know of us, and what parts of our story they get to share. And our perceptions of the world around us are just as equally shaped by our nature, our nurture, and the story that formed us as we grew. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. Not everyone has the right to our story. Not everyone has the right to the unvarnished ugliness or beauty of our truth. For instance, if 6 years ago, an interviewer had asked me why I was leaving my previous position, I likely would not have told them I had a work colleague that was so abusively toxic, racist, and homophobic that my hair had started falling out. I had developed a twitch in my cheek that wouldn't go away, and that my body had literally and medically started breaking down. Instead, I might have said, I was extremely privileged to have worked at Generic Job 123 and to have learned all that I did. I now want to take that proven skill and knowledge and help other organizations grow. This would have indeed been a truth, just not the whole truth. Not everyone has a right to your whole story, and nor do you have a right to anyone else's. But the problem comes when you start to believe your own story, or rather, to believe that your story is the only true story, that your experience defines everyone else's role. In the 1980s movie, The Karate Kid, Daniel LaRusso is a scrappy, good-hearted 17-year-old who, after his father's death, moves with his mom to Reseda, California. There, he is faced with a gang of rich bullies led by Johnny Lawrence. Through the movie, Daniel, with the help of his mentor, Mr. Miyagi, learns to conquer both his fear and karate, eventually beating Johnny in the All Valley Karate Tournament and winning the heart of Johnny's ex-girlfriend. We, as the audience, are assured that good had triumphed over bullies, high school, and the evil dojo Cobra Kai. Flash forward 30 years, and Johnny and Daniel are back, this time in a television series, Cobra Kai. If you couldn't guess from the title, for the first time in 3 movies, Daniel is no longer our sole narrator, and the curtain on Johnny's life, his motivations, and what he saw and experienced was pulled back. Daniel won with an illegal head kick? Daniel was an aggressive out-of-towner who attacked Johnny and his friends out of nowhere? Johnny had an abusive mentor and a gaslighting stepfather? Suddenly, the story was turned on its head, and who we should be rooting for was no longer clear. Neither narrative was completely reliable, and neither narrative was a lie. In the third season, Johnny and Daniel, now 40-something-year-old men with children of their own, are reunited with an old friend, and Daniel muses, "I suppose there are two sides to every story." Immediately, the friend corrects him. "No, there are three. Your story, his story, and the truth. Your story, my story, our story." While most of us will never find ourselves locked in a pitched battle between rival dojos and grown men invested in creating teenage karate gangs, we often find ourselves at the crossroads between the comfort of our own narrative and the discomforting realization that our story is only one piece of the overall narrative. To live most fully, most richly in this brief tapestry of life, we have to open ourselves up to the other pieces of the story, even the pieces that might directly contradict the arcs we had made for ourselves. This is hard. Of course it is. It means we're required to re-examine our own perceptions, our own memories, our own justifications, and be willing to accept that maybe, just maybe, our narration is not the only valid story. Yeah, it's hard, but to do differently is to keep ourselves and others trapped in a vicious cycle of us versus them, you versus me, absolute divisions that lead to separation, war, both literal and metaphorical, and a breakdown in the fabric that creates the interconnected web of life. Bridges can only be built if each side agrees to keep adding pieces until we can connect the whole somewhere in the middle. We may make the call to never actually walk to the other side, because understanding does not always mean capitulation, allowance, or subjecting ourselves to soul-harming behavior. But we have at least made the conscious decision to have the opportunity to bridge the abyss. If we, as our fourth principle states, believe in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, this means we have to learn to accept that my truth may not be your truth. And in fact, our joined truths may just be two pieces in a puzzle that holds pieces from every person that ever was and ever will be. So, your story, my story, our story. Let's open up the narrative and see what fantastic new genres we can create. May it be so. Amen. Our closing hymn this morning is Let It Be a Dance, which is personally one of my very favorite songs we ever do. And I do want to take a moment as we miss this at the very end to recognize that Dina Wright is very happy that her granddaughter graduated Boise High with honors last week. That is incredible. So our version of Let It Be a Dance, obviously by Rick Maston, and this is sung by Paul Thompson. Our Zoom runner will share their screen and the lyrics will be displayed. Everyone will be muted, but we hope you'll sing along in your home.
Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let a dancing song be heard. Play the music, say the words, and fill the sky with sailing birds. Let it be a dance, let it be a dance, let it be a dance. Learn to follow, learn to lead. Feel the rhythm, feel the need. To reap the harvest, plant the times too. Let it be a dance. Everybody turn and spin. Let your body learn to bend. And like a willow with a wind, let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. A child is born, the old must die. A time for joy, a time to cry. Take it as it passes by. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance with you. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Morning star comes out at night. Without the dark there is no light. If nothing's wrong then nothing's right. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let the sunshine, let it rain. Share the laughter, bear the pain. And round we go again. Let it be a dance.
Let us now extinguish our chalice. You are invited to unmute yourselves, stand and say our chalice extinguishing words. We have put the words in the chat box if you'd like to follow along. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of community, the light of truth, or the energy of action. We hold each other in our hearts till we meet again.
It's okay. We have it in our heart. We're good.
This is why I don't have a flamed chalice, by the way.
Fire safety. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for worship today. Our benediction and postlude together is the poem Ode by author O'Shaughnessy. We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams, wandering by lone sea breakers and sitting by desolate streams, world losers and world forsakers, on whom the pale moon gleams. Yet we are the movers and shakers of the world forever, it seems. With wonderful, deathless ditties, we build up the world's great cities, and out of a fabulous story, we fashion an empire's glory. One man with a dream, at pleasure, shall go forth and conquer a crown, and three, with a new song's measure, can trample an empire down. We, in the ages lying in the buried past of the earth, built Nineveh with our sighing, and Babel itself with our mirth, and o'erthrew them with prophesying to the old of the new world's worth. For each age is a dream that is dying, or one that is coming to birth. Thank you for joining us in worship, and we invite you to return in 10 minutes for our social half hour. Blessed be.